My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has looked with favor. I greet you in the name of one God, holy and undivided, name above all names. Amen. Amen. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Today is the third Sunday in the season of Advent. Many people know this day as Joy Sunday. And I'm so glad that we have a Joy Sunday this time of year intentionally to hold joy in this season. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, isn't joy kind of the theme of this whole time of year? And the answer is yeah. And also, not quite. You see, it's easy to lose sight or to overlook or even to mistake what joy is. If you go shopping this time of year, you'll get the impression that joy can be bought in a coffee mug or a sweater or in a handheld electronic. These things are nice and often delicious and are certainly on my Christmas wish list, both for their usefulness and their moments of happiness. But joy is so much more than a fleeting emotion. The season of Advent teaches us that the inbreak of joy, both in our hearts and in the world, is a gift. It is a gift that if we are to receive and to hold, we have to prepare for. And so in this season of preparation and waiting and watching, Advent is actually a season of tensions. Tensions between past and present, between our current reality and our future hope. During Advent, we remember our most ancient prophecies, and we recall the announcement of Mary's child in fulfillment of these hopes. We think about then what God has done in our own lives. We also watch for God's movement in the world today as we look with longing to the next inbreaking of Christ to the world to come in the future. And so this waiting, this preparation takes work. The work of Advent is a move to act, to make things right in our relationship with God, in our relationships with each other, and with creation. God is calling forth new beginnings and new endings in our own lives and in the life of the church and in the life of the world. This season is a call to active watching and waiting and preparation. And so, in this season of tensions, Advent is often and intentionally penitent and somber. But today, the invitation is to remember the very important role of joy, to celebrate the waiting. Indeed, we are in a dark night waiting for Christ to come. And so this morning, I want us to think on what joy actually is by looking to Mary as a prophet and as a model of joy. So first, we'll take a moment to think more about what joy actually is, and then we'll consider what Mary, mother of Jesus, can teach us about joy. Now, joy is something that we often dismiss as a good feeling or a happy mood. But joy is so much more than that. If joy were simply a feeling, we could not have both joy and open eyes to the reality of the circumstances we find ourselves in. If joy was simply a feeling, we could not hold all the tensions that this season invites us into. Not just excitement and anticipation, but feelings of longing and regret, sorrow for what has been and what is yet to come. Joy is something much deeper than any one single feeling. The joy we are invited into this morning is like an underground spring, a nourishment that sustains us through the night. It is a patient confidence that even in the bleak midwinter, there is something right in this world. So how are we to hold joy and patience and action all at once? The book of James this morning says that we are to look to the prophets as an example. Now, we don't often consider Mary as a prophet, but that is exactly what she is. A prophet is simply someone through whom God speaks. It is someone who reads the signs and is able to say what's about to come. Mary, Mother of God, as some Christian traditions call her, was the first person to declare, to know that the long-awaited Christ had come. And she was the first person to know the joy of Christ inside of her very being. So by looking to Mary, not only do we learn a little bit about who God is, about who Jesus is, about who Emmanuel, God with us, is, but we get an image of how to prepare for Christ as we wait in the long, long night. This morning we read Canticle 15. These words are found in the book of Luke. It's often called the Song of Mary, the Magnificat. Mary's celebration comes just after the angel Gabriel tells Mary, a young girl, probably around the age of 15, that the favor of God was upon her and God wanted to do a new thing that would be good news for all of creation. Imagine that. A 15 or 16-year-old girl changing the world. Mary could have said no. The choice was always hers. But instead, she said, and I quote, "Here I am." Mary's response to God is a yes that echoed throughout eternity. This was no small task. Even today, we know that pregnancy is fraught with danger for both the mother and the child. And we know that motherhood is taxing in every way. And yet, this is the relationship that God and woman chose. It is an intimacy unmatched by any other relationship. The nourishment that sustained Mary would be the nourishment that sustained Jesus. Recent studies tell us that at birth, the bodies of the mother and the child actually work together through chemical and bodily signals that work in tandem to bring a new thing into the world. This birth, this working together is a messy thing. Even in the best circumstances, blood is involved. At birth, the blood of the mother and the child are indistinguishable. two substances together as one. This is the intimacy that the Creator desires with creation, that God's self would be indistinguishable from God's creation, a new thing being born through a young girl, unmarried and pregnant. Who would believe it? Even today, women are not believed about their own bodies. Even today, pregnancy outside of wedlock at any age is routinely looked upon with judgment. The ancient world could have stoned Mary. The threat was real. And yet this place of danger and messiness and uncertainty is exactly the circumstance that God chose to join God's self to humanity. I am with you, God says. In you I dwell. Yes, Mary said, yes. Now, it is popular this time of year to question the naivete or the wisdom of Mary. Did this young girl know what was about to happen? Mary, did you know? The answer is profoundly yes. Mary knew exactly what she was doing. Mary knew what she was in for. Mary knew exactly what was coming. God came to the lowest in the world, a young, unmarried Hebrew girl in first century Palestine, to dwell not among the rich and the powerful, but the lowest. To this, Mary sings. And I can't help but wonder, did Mary sing this song to her babe? Did this song sustain her child, as mother's songs so often do? God, Mary sings, is a faithful God who has remembered his promise of mercy. This indwelling of God with the lowly overturns thrones and scatters the mighty and fills the hungry with good things. This isn't just a new baby coming into the world. This is a new order of things. Creator and creation are no longer separated. There is no longer a divide. God is one, and so we rejoice. My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has looked with favor upon me, upon you, upon our sisters and our brothers throughout time. This news, this is good news. It is unshakable joy, a joy that is expressed but not dependent upon preparations and gift giving and in catching up with good friends and singing familiar songs. God comes to you this morning in the midst of your waiting, in the midst of your longing and watching and weeping, and wants so badly to bring forth a new thing in you, in every place of who you are. God speaks to us this morning and wants to bring about a new thing in our life and in our church and in our world. God wants so badly to give you joy in this place. Say yes. And so in a little while, we'll come to this table, as we do every Sunday morning. And as we do, I invite you to come and to remember God's very real presence dwelling in you. God sustains you with this nourishment, with this sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving. Rejoice, for God has looked with favor and remains in us always. Amen.